Hey guys, welcome to one of your first videos. Remember that the very first video that we do is your lesson with me. And if you still need help after that, that's why I'm walking around. So you'll see me either A, working with a group and try not to interrupt me with that group. There's also paras in the room. You can bother them while I'm working with other students. Or B, you can rewind this video. So what you're going to see is on the left side, these are the slides like you would see on the screen most of the time. And here are the notes that you're going to need. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So each video should not be longer than 5 minutes. So if you can hold your attention for 5 minutes, that would be great. All right, look on the left side. You're going to need your evidence-based writing student notebook, and that is the book we put your name on. Oh, you can't see it, it's not going to let me do that, but it's the book, it's the EB writing program. It's on the shelf right underneath the TV, so go find yours, and you can pause this while you're getting that. And you'll need a pencil. No pens today. You'll need to jot down notes as we work through these slides together, and feel free to pause at any time and go back and rewrite. Like if I'm moving ahead and you haven't finished yet, it's okay to pause. That's what I like about this approach is you can pause anytime and take your time in writing these notes. So the first thing we're going to look at is what is evidence-based writing. It is writing where you have based everything you've written on the evidence you have found, which you've been asked to do since fourth grade, but I'm going to give you a way to do that that makes it a little easier, I feel. And so when I say EBW, I mean evidence-based writing, okay? It's used when we're writing a response to any type of reading that we've done and somebody has asked a question. You have to answer that question based on evidence from what you've read, which is a fourth, fifth, sixth grade and on up standard. So after you've read a novel, a short story, there will be this essential question you have to answer and you have to use evidence. That's what EBW is here for. The first paragraph in writing, evidence-based writing, is called, the first sentence is called tag. And so you're going to write down, see right here on the blue, anything in bold, I want you to write that down. And don't just write the bold down, but I want you to listen to. So T stands for title. A stands for author. G stands for the genre or what type of book it is. Okay, this should be in at least your first sentence of your essay or response to your answer. Okay, so always have that. So that's your first sentence. Pretty simple. You just have to add the adjectives and adverbs, and I'll show you how to do that. We'll work on that together. The summary should be at least 2 sentences, if it's a long story, that is, and should summarize the text you will be writing about. And I know I type faster than you're writing, and that's okay. So you pause this when you need to. And then your last sentence in this top paragraph, in the introductory paragraph, is called your claim. And if you don't know what a claim is, it's a belief statement. So it's the answer to your question. So when the teacher has asked a question, you have to answer it. This is what you believe to be true. So this sentence states your basic answer to the question from the prompt, so the question that's been asked, or whatever you're trying to do to prove here. And I believe you wrote one of these last year, but you may have not heard some of these words, so I wanted to make sure you know these words. Okay, so the very first paragraph, you're just doing just what it says. You're introducing what you're about to write about without saying I'm about to write about. Do not ever start with I'm about to write about. Your premise. This is a word you may not know yet. Your premise is just your reason. So if somebody asks you why, your premise is your reason why. Okay, so you state a reason that supports your claim. So you just said your claim right above here, and now you're going to state your reason why you believe this, okay? And if you have a why, then you have to have evidence, right? So you've got to set the scene for your reader by saying the author states. So before you give your evidence, you have to introduce your evidence in some way. So the author states is an easy way to do this. There are other ways as well, and we'll move into those later, but let's start with the author states. And then you have to give that evidence. You can't just say, well, I believe it to be true. If your mother asked you, is your room clean? And you say yes, you have to prove it in some way. So you have to include a direct quote from the text that supports your claim. And justification is at least 2 to 3 sentences. Okay, and it does 2 things. One, the first sentence should explain how the quote you chose supports the premise. And 2, okay, how the premise and the quote support the claim. And we'll work on this. This is just writing notes today. So all you're doing is writing down what I have for you here. So don't feel like you have to know everything right now. Lastly, your last paragraph should be the easiest because you're just rewriting what you've already written just with different words. So you're going to restate your claim with different words. You're not going to introduce anything new at all. You're just going to remind the reader, and without saying remember, remind the reader of your premise. So take your premise, rewrite your premise. Rewrite your premise with different words. And move that over so you can see it. It wanted me to capitalize there. Okay, and then in your concluding sentence, you're going to write one final sentence that leaves the reader no questions. So this is your mic drop. I always say kind of make it like your hook and rewrite your hook in some way. Okay, this is your introduction. These are the notes. So on your evidence-based writing in the book, page 2, these are your notes. You're going to keep that all year long just in case you can't remember how to do it. You're going to always go back to this. Okay, guys, your evidence that you finished this and finished the video is by showing me your notes. So show me your notes, just raise your hand. Somebody will come by, a Para or me, and then you'll just be able to move on right on your tracker.